Good evening, everyone. We trust and hope that you have had a wonderful day. We're so excited and delighted that you've joined us for this, our last conversation corner, featuring the Lady Bosses from our forum that we had back in March, the first Saturday in March. We hosted a forum with Lady Bosses honoring accomplished women who have been blessed by God, who have been elevated by God, women who God has used both in the church as well as in the marketplace. And tonight we are so blessed to have a tremendous woman of God to finish us off in style, I will say. I am so blessed to be joined by Minister Kimberly Lewis on this evening. We want to thank God first just for this time together. We pray that this time will be a blessing and an encouragement to all who will watch now and those that will watch even at a later time. And so now it is my honor to welcome Minister Kimberly Lewis. She is the Chief Equity Officer for Havens Network and also serves as the co-chair for International Well Building Institute Health Equity Advisory Council. I was teasing her and told her that her titles were a mouthful, but she is a tremendous woman of God. She has served as a senior vice president in her previous position. And I'm just excited to talk to her tonight, just to hear about her journey, because I know that it will be a blessing to you. Minister Kimberly, welcome to our conversation corner.
Well, thank you. So excited to be here, Pastor
It's
Simone.
so wonderful to have you. We're going to dive right in because, as I share with you, this time goes by quickly, and there's so much that I want to talk to you about. Part of the reason why we started the conversation corner, particularly as it relates to this Lady Bosses Forum, is we wanted to be able to spend some one on one time with each woman of God to get a glimpse of what their process looks like. And your process is a tremendous one. I mentioned that you've been a senior vice president, you are now chief equity officer. You have been blessed with leadership at a very high level in the marketplace. And I just want to ask you to tell us a little bit about your process and how the Lord did what he has done in your journey.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful and honored to be here. But literally, I think you ended it exactly where I want to step into is my process began when I let go and allowed God to lead me. A lot of times we want to control the journey and drive
Mm,
the way. And ultimately, where God sees us isn't always where we see ourselves in the present time. And so for my journey, I was a product of a women's college. And so at Hood University, Hood College, there's so much use for women's institutions that really seeded in us. You are a leader today. It's not about
wow.
each of you have a call and a purpose. And from the first day we stepped on that campus, it was about activating our voice, our leadership, our purpose for humanity and for a bigger call. And so from the very
Mhm.
beginning, I was active there doing multiple things, being, a vice president of my class, heading up the justice, equity, and diversity work there, also being a sports I was an athlete as well as
Mhm.
participating in so many avenues. And they were just saying, what you do today will be what you model as you step into the workplace. And so from there,
Wow.
that became the beginning for me is understanding what is my purpose in service. And so I'm no stranger to that. I am a child that was raised multi-generationally as faith is being the ground and the foundation for how we live our lives and the work that we do. And so it was very natural for me to think about service and to think about my career in that perspective.
Wow. Well, my sister, you have just become the best advertisement for Hood University. But what a tremendous story and testimony of how the beginning stages, and how oftentimes we can't despise our beginnings, because oftentimes God is seeding and planting some things in us. One of the things that I thought about as I've thought about what I know about your journey, and of course, I only know glimpses of things, is that the Lord has placed you at times on some very large stages in terms of what you've had to do for your job, and for the things that you were assigned to do. And I've often wondered, were there moments where you had feelings of intimidation? And if you did, how did you overcome those feelings of intimidation?
So it's interesting. I worked for Governor Lawton Childs, former U.S. Senator, the governor of Florida, then worked for Marian Wright Edelman, a civil rights icon, and then moved from there to a global corporation driving all of their sales and international rollouts. I was in Dubai when people didn't know about Dubai in the late 90s.
I remember.
I was in Ibiza with my mother co-pastor along when they were shutting it down at 3 a.m. in the morning. And so the journey was very clear to me through all of these experiences that God wanted me to see behind the curtain. So what you see and what people portray isn't who they are behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, they are just as fragile. They need building up. There's lots of insecurity. But in spite of all of those things that we see in ourselves when we look in the mirror, the call and the purpose was still there. And so in spite of their fragileness, in spite of their insecurity, in spite of their doubts, that all happened behind the curtains, when they stepped up, they were ready to answer the call. And so one of the things Marian Wright Edelman said to me when it was the 90s and I was the first to have a phone for her, and she called me at 3 a.m. in the morning wanting to redefine and think through an opportunity. And I remember saying, great, I got the notes, I'll have this ready for her. And so she was in the office before 8 a.m. and wanted the notes and wanted my next steps. And I said, we just got off the phone at 3 a.m. And her point is, did you go back to sleep? Are you sleeping?
Like, how can you sleep amidst all of this?
This is for the children. Like, we have a purpose and a vision, and we'll die. Like, this is about the work. And I'll never forget, she was already up in age. She had already lived through so much, the civil rights movement, the Poor People's March, driving the work for children. And she was still just as driven and focused. And even though I didn't quite match up then, because I was in my 20s trying to get some sleep, and at the end of it all, what it instilled in me was it raised the bar. It helped me to understand where I needed to be in order to be purposeful in getting things done in a way that's transformative. So everyone wants to point the finger at everyone else, but start with you. Because every time we're at a level of excellence, the Lord will bring someone else before you to show, wow, I have a long way to go. And at every step in my career, I have had someone to show me another level and another dimension. On one side, in the front of the curtain, they're driven. Behind the curtain, all the frailties come in, all the concerns. They need a makeup artist before they go out on the stage. Anyway, but all of the things that we would be surprised. Is this a man asking for a makeup artist? Absolutely. Because how will I be portrayed? How will I look on camera? What does this look like? And so in the midst of all of the details and the work and the billions of dollars of influence and the announcement and the call, they're still concerned about perception. And so just so much of that journey that helped me to understand the balance and knowing
Mhm.
that even at my best, if it's not good enough, I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
always share for folks that even the larger that they are, the bigger the bigger their frailties, but it doesn't stop them from moving forward. That's what I learned.
Wow. And it's so powerful, you sharing the curtain motif behind the curtains. And so often I think we get intimidated behind the curtain and don't come out in front of the curtain when
Mhm.
it just takes that step. Sometimes the feelings and the insecurities may not go away, but when you walk in your purpose, that's what I heard you say. If
Yeah.
your purpose begins to drive you, then you'll be able to accomplish and to do what it is that God has for you to do. And I'm sure if we had more time and the space, you could probably tell us some stories, I'm sure, but we're
Um,
not going to go there tonight. I have often teased you about your commitment to your local church and to our local organization. Minister Kimberly will get on a plane in Italy and fly home to be in church on Sunday morning to sing on the choir. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it, but I've also admired that about you because you have been committed to your assignments and you have tried to do the things that you have had to do on the local church. Some folks would have said, I've got to go to Brazil for a meeting. I can't do that. But I have never called you and you have never said to me, I'm in Dubai this week and I'm not able to. You always try to figure out how can I get this done. And I want to ask you to talk about that. And as you talk about that, talk about your faith journey in the marketplace, because oftentimes we put faith in a church box. And I have seen through the years that I have known you, the work of faith in even in what you've had to do professionally. And so if you can kind of talk about those two and just how you are the way you are, my dear.
I am so grateful, and I just want to send a shout out to Karen. She knows who she is. I worked with her in the state of Florida, Washington office for Governor Childs, and she was the example for me. She was a Christian, she was a woman of faith, but that isn't what she led with. She led with coming into the office every single day with a whole box of bagels and cream cheese and was like,
Mm.
how is everyone doing? Look what I brought. And she every day it was something else she was bringing into the office, and everyone was like, Karen, okay. Neither did we know that her son was struggling with drug addiction. She had another issue with another child. She was a widow herself. There were so many issues going on and we never knew it. She came in every day with a smile, a sunny position, and giving. And
Mm.
always giving. People want to understand my journey. It begins once again with you. The Lord requires that you give first, give to the level of the next place and space that you want to be in. And that begins not just with all of your resources, but your timing, your energy, and your commitment. How could I stay up all night long putting together a 100-page, second by second run of show, which you know we do, and not give that same detail and discipline to God first in my service?
Wow. Wow.
Me, for my family, be humble and serve God first. All things will be added. I wouldn't dare work as hard and travel everywhere and not be back for my position that God has given to me. And what I will say is everyone's waiting for the next step. God is waiting
Mhm.
on you. Can he trust
Wow.
with the next steps? Because when he gave you the food and beverage at the church, when he gave you the ushering job to greet folks, you showed up when you wanted to. You came in late. You did that. How can he trust you with so much more? Everything that I have experienced began from tools and templates that I pulled from my service in church.
Wow.
Every And so
Wow.
my example of marketplace ministry. And so when I was at my lowest grieving moment in the 90s, when she went through her journey, and yet I saw her show up every day, it shifted me. And her point is,
Mhm.
the grace and the power of God that allowed me to be who I am here while I'm dealing with the burdens and the unrest at home. And she said, and it's an honor and it is a privilege to serve God in this way. And that was my first job. And I said, I want to be the Karen in my marketplace and my job, so that even though I'm jet lagged, I am sleepy after coming straight and heading to church harvest on Sunday. When I get to work Monday, I want to know what's going on in everybody's life. How are the kids? How's the church? It is important to be intentional and to give of yourself, and it's never convenient. But when you put all of those seeds in, you're so busy, you don't even realize when the increase comes, and you don't even understand, but it's just a part of who you are. And it's not, I don't do it because of that, but I'm grateful have the ability to serve in that way. And I just love, there's so many organizations I work with, Groundswell, and they've been working with the faith community, and they speak about values-based performance. You know, your whole self to the work that you do, so that you respect the people you engage with in the workplace, so that you love and honor them, not through a scripture, but just for how you present yourself every day.
Wow. Honey, you have preached a sermon. I'm telling you, that was powerful. And thank God for Karen, who was your visible evidence to teach you at such a young age and really laid a foundation. And I'm telling you, I know for sure that you have modeled that for other men and women in your life to show that faithfulness and consistency. Believe it or not, our time is just about up. I told you it was going to go by really, really quickly. But just before we close out, I want to share, and I also want you to share something as well. I want to share our church, Eagle Restoration Ministries, is partnering with you to host a conversation on climate change and the church. And we're calling it Climate Change and the Church, a global conversation, looking at the role of faith leaders and religious institutions and the role that we play in addressing environmental and eco-justice issues. It will be on Saturday, May the 22nd at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are so honored that Minister Kimberly is going to be our keynote speaker, and she's going to be talking about eco-justice and the necessity of the engagement of the faith community. There will be other things that I'm sure that she will share, and we are going to feature a panel discussion with pastors from across the globe. We have a pastor from the United Kingdom, we have a pastor from Africa, we've got a couple of pastors from the US, and also a pastor from the West Indies. And so I'm so excited. She and I, we've talked about this for years with her history in this area, in this field. She's a pioneer in this area, and it's something that she's passionate about, and her passion has rubbed off on me slightly. I'm not quite as passionate and knowledgeable as she is, but part of the purpose of this event, and I hope that those of you who are watching or who will watch at a later time will mark the date on your calendar, because we want to convey hope, inclusivity, compassion for marginalized communities, especially children who are impacted by climate change and air pollution. And you'll hear more about that at that event. Sometimes we don't pay attention to what is happening, and God has caused us to have responsibility. And so I wanted to share that. And then I want to ask her, she's going to share about another organization that works with eco-justice issues, and I'm going to give her a moment to do that before we wrap up tonight.
Yes, I just wanted to shout out Green the Church as well, and they have been amplifying the power of Black churches and really bringing to our community, in and without, the issues of sustainability and building resilient communities. It is our job as faith leaders to serve as anchor institutions, both within the walls and outside of the walls. We know systemic racism, oppression has created spaces and places where our communities are creating stress, even how they're designed they're built, but then having the ability to have well-being and to thrive. And so how can the church be the center of advocating for more within the walls and
Amen.
outside of the walls? Have that trust.
Amen. Minister Lewis, thank you so much for being with us tonight for our conversation corner. I want to invite all of you to go back if you missed the Lady Bosses Forum. It is available on our YouTube page, Eagles Nest. All of the conversation corners are there as well. We hope to, in the months to come, to feature them in a podcast. And so be looking out for that. We're just excited about what God is doing here at Eagle Restoration Ministries. And through these wonderful women of God, we thank God for Elder Deborah Johnson, for Pastor Tammy Braswell, for Pastor Denise Carpenter, and Minister Kimberly Lewis. God bless you all. We love you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for joining us this evening for our Lady Bosses for Christ Conversation Corner. We hope you were encouraged over these past 4 Tuesdays as we talked one-on-one with each of our Lady Bosses. The Lady Bosses for Christ Forum that was held back in March is available on our YouTube channel, Eagles Nest, along with each Tuesday's Conversation Corner. Your financial contribution will assist Eagle Restoration Ministries to fulfill the mandate and assignment given by God. To sow a seed, please visit our website, www.eaglerestoration.org, to give through Givelify or use our Cash App, $ERM2020. We thank you in advance for sowing a seed. We invite you to join us every Sunday for our Sunday worship experience, which takes place live on Facebook and YouTube at 4 p.m. Our Restoration Life class takes place every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. If you are interested in joining, please email media@eaglerestoration.org for the login information. Thank you for joining us this evening. On behalf of Pastor Gibson, have a blessed week.